Hi sweet friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Melissa and I'm so happy that you found me. In today's video, my family and I are going to tackle an above ground pool installation that we're going to do on our own. Watch to find out the steps that we took and if it was worth it. So if you're ready for it, grab your favorite drink and let's get started. Okay, so here's our area that we're going to put the pool. You can tell we started this last fall, and I can't remember why we stopped, but we stopped and just left it alone. And then we tried back earlier this spring or early summer, trying to put it up again, and we quickly realized that it just wasn't meant for us to do it that day because the wind kept blowing the wall over on us. And so anyway, third time's the charm, hopefully, but I'm going to show you what we are doing this time to prevent the wind, hopefully, from blowing the wall over as we're putting it up. So my husband, and I hope I explained this correctly, but so here, there's the bottom block, and then there's the rail that the wall's going to sit in. And what we're doing is putting this piece up, and we're putting a block behind it to help support the wall, and we're going to do that ever so often. And then my husband bought these poles here, so as we put the wall up, we're going to put the top plate on, and then I think what he said is that we're going to attach it to this. This is just to stabilize the wall, to keep it from blowing over as we're working. So, and it's just me, my husband, and our 11-year-old son. Here is the wall. There's what it looks like. I do know that my husband purchased it from Amazon. It may have been from a pool company, but it was on Amazon. If I can find it, I'll try to find this same exact one, and I'll link it below just in case you're interested. But this is what we've got so far. I'm going to video and just let you all see the progress that we make between the three of us. As we are getting started here, I need to tell you that we are by far not professional pool installers. We went by the directions and did the best that we could, and I will also say that we did many different things along the way, had to change some things. It was definitely not an easy job, and it took us days to complete this. We worked on it on and off for days. So as we go, we're working, putting up 3 of these at a time, and Callan is screwing the bolts in that's connected to this frame, and then we're putting a block here to hold this down so that it's stable in the wind when the wind's blowing as we're working. So when I say that my husband started on this last fall, what I mean is what he did was he leveled the ground where you see us putting up the pool, and then he also went ahead and put the blocks down and got everything nice and level. And from what we understand, that should be the hardest part, is just getting everything level. But from my personal point of view, I think every part of this job was difficult. Like I said, we are not professional pool installers. However, my husband is not really a stranger to installing pools. In his younger years, he installed quite a few pools like the one we are doing. And we feel like the material that the pools are made out of these days are just not made to last. That was probably the biggest issue with everything that we dealt with, was the materials themselves that came with our pool. It seems like everything was kind of flimsy. Nothing really wanted to stay the way it should. we had to do a lot of modifications. So these poles, we got these poles, like I said, to help keep everything stable and in place, and we purposely put them upside down so that we could use this part to, whatever this called, this rail, we can stick it up under here to help keep the wind from blowing it over. And then most people that's putting up a pool may already know this, but in case you don't, so what I'm doing is I'm holding the wall as my husband is putting it in this frame. I'm just kind of holding it up and letting him slide it into the frame right there. So yesterday when we was putting up the wall, we stopped about right here, and then my husband got up early this morning. We actually ran into a little snag. My husband fixed it, and then he got up early this morning and finished putting everything together. So now the next step is putting the sand out and around the wall here and in the middle and getting that level. There's how we're getting in and out of the pool right now. So my husband has been busy putting the sand around the wall here, but he purchased these to put around the edges to smooth that. I guess so the liner sits there easier up on the wall down here at the bottom. I'm not sure, but anyway, we have those. We also have a pad that we're going to lay down over top of the sand to make it smoother. I guess that's what it's for. Not quite sure, but anyway, my husband knows a little bit more about it. He's the one who ordered all the stuff. So anyway, that's where we're at right now. So here we got the pool liner out. We're letting it warm up in the sun so it can be easily stretched, putting it in the pool. Here's the design. We ordered a separate one. This is exactly like the one we used to have at our old house. It's got this pattern at the top and then just that wavy water pattern at the bottom. So we're just letting it get warm so it can be put in a little easier. While the pool liner is warming up over there, we are now going to lay down some type of mat that my husband purchased to put down over the sand that the liner will sit on. So the liner don't actually sit on the sand. There's the sand, some type of foam material or something, and then the liner. I'll show you. So here we are laying this. It's a felt material, And honestly, it's a good concept, but we realize there's so many wrinkles in this thing that once you put the liner on top of that, it's going to be so wrinkled. And honestly, we just end up taking it back off. And that was just another separate thing that we purchased that we really didn't need. So now we're just going to try to do the liner on top of the sand, which is what most people do anyway. So after the liner had laid out in the sun for a couple hours, my husband folded it back up, and then he's going to use the tractor here just to take it back over to the pool to get it laid out to put inside. And this is how we did it to get it inside the pool up over the wall. Next, my husband got inside the pool, and he kind of used those boxes that you see to step on to kind of spread the liner out. And then once we got it spread out, he started taping it to the side of the wall. And then this particular liner did not come with the pool. We bought it separately. It's one of those liners that just hooks over the wall, and then you just attach the frame back up. I think it's called a beaded liner. Here is a closer visual of how that liner just fits over the wall, and then you put the rail back on top of that. So we almost had the liner completely installed, and then we realized we have a little bit of extra liner here and no more frame. So our first thought is maybe the liner was too big, and as you can see, it kind of goes around in a swirl at the bottom there, so we think it just needs to be adjusted. So now we're going to have to take it back down and try it again. So while we're putting up the pool for the 399th time, I can't help but to admire all of our wildflowers here. So we got some corn. We got these pretty little things here. And then over here, we've got this growing. We got some of the purple clover stuff here. So in case you're wondering why the weeds are growing here the way they are, is when my husband dug this out, he moved the dirt over. So that's what's here. We couldn't mow over it because it's like little hills of dirt. But we'll smooth all of that out once if we ever get this fixed. So down comes the liner. Day 399 working on the pool. Got myself the largest iced coffee. Either the pool is not the 24-foot, or the liner is not the size it's supposed to be. It's just not working. So we took it down now for the 300th time. And we're just going to put in the liner that actually came with the pool. So for the liner that came with the pool, not this one, that's the one that we could not get to work. The liner that came with the pool overlaps the wall. So if this doesn't work, I think the pool may come down. Liner that came with the pool, take 400. I'm going to try to explain this correctly, but when you have a liner that just overlaps the wall, you have that clear plastic piece that sits on top and it holds that liner there, and then that gray frame that's on top then goes back on top of that. Once you have those pieces securely back down in place, then you just put the screws back into the poles to secure everything down. Once you have the liner installed, then you have to have a way of suctioning out the air and smoothing out all of the wrinkles. So here, my husband has a wet dry back, and you can see how he's got it fixed up and worked up there into that hole to be able to suction out the air while also trying to smooth out some of those wrinkles. And as you can see, it looks like we have a storm brewing. We had some strong little wind gusts, and I honestly thought the pool was going to fall down. So here it is the next morning. Yesterday it stormed on and off kind of all day, and I'm going to show you where my husband kind of picked up after the storms ended. Let me show you what he did, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion if we would try to do this again by ourselves. So yesterday after the storms, my husband came through and he put up these rails, these top rails right here, along with these caps that go on this frame here. And then what we did after that was we started filling it up with water. We have two different water hoses going at the same time trying to fill it up. And last night we turned it off, and then we turned it back on this morning. And the liner looks pretty good. We didn't want this liner. We wanted the one with the pretty design on it, but it is what it is. This is the only one that we could get to work. We're still not completely happy with the pool. It is okay for now. We're actually thinking about using it maybe a year or two, and then possibly maybe getting an in-ground pool. If you have an in-ground pool, maybe comment below like how hard are they to take care of, maybe versus an above ground pool, because I'm not sure. We've had an above ground pool before, and it was just the total opposite kind of this pool. This one we ran into so many snags and just so much that, my honest opinion, if we was going to install another pool, this is just my opinion, and you can tell me in the comments what you think or believe that maybe we could have done different to make this any better. First of all, we ordered this pool off Amazon. That I mentioned that earlier in the video. That would be the first thing that I would change. I would not order this from Amazon because we felt like from the get-go that this pool just wasn't made the way it should be. The biggest issue that we had, I'll see if I can show you here, but these rails right here, they were the flimsiest little things. You could take them and you could basically just barely take your hands and they would twist. So we knew that was a problem. I'm sorry, my husband is on the tractor, so if you can hear the tractor, I apologize. Back to the rails. The rails was just so flimsy, we had a hard time just even keeping the wall up, which is why we had to use those poles at the beginning of the video that I talked about. We honestly kept those poles up until this thing started filling with water because we was so afraid that this was going to blow over. So, back to my question. Would I do this again? I would not. And here's why. First of all, well, let me just say this. I would change some things. I would not get the pool from Amazon. I would just go to a pool store and I would buy a name brand pool and spend $500 extra for a good name brand pool, because that's what we had at our last house. We never had any issues out of it. And we installed that one ourselves as well. The other thing that I would change is depending on how much time you have, I don't know that I would install it ourselves. Honestly, I think I would spend the $1,500 or whatever it is that people charge to install pools and have somebody else install it. So would I install another pool? Absolutely. I would just do things differently. Name brand pool, get somebody else to do the installation. And that's what I would do. If you made it to the end of my video, I appreciate you watching. Please like if you enjoy this type of content. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It's free, no charge. Thank you for watching, and God bless.